For the past 17 years, the Elite.net have been the gatekeepers of Perfect Dark speedrunning, housing the official rankings and being the central hub for speedrunners to converse on forums and other social platforms. But it didn't begin this way, and with the influx of newer players over the years and the inevitable departure of older ones, the story of the birth and growth of Perfect Dark speedrunning has become largely forgotten. Join me now as we explore the beginnings of one of the largest and longest-lived speedrunning communities on the planet. In the early months of 2000, before Perfect Dark was released, fan-run Perfect Dark websites littered the internet. Of all of them, pdark.com was the biggest. On the 14th of May, a week before the game's release, pdark.com announced a new league section where players will be able to compete for the best times in Perfect Dark. The top Nintendo runners agreed that due to pdark being number 1, it should house the official world records. On the 22nd of May, Perfect Dark was released in North America, and a week later, on the 28th, the first batch of times are submitted. As with GoldenEye, the in-game timer that saved personal bests organically bred competition from the earliest days. pdark.com attracted major competitors from the GoldenEye World Rankings page, as well as many brand new players who have never competed before at all. The rankings were simple, and as was standard at the time, players would email their personal bests through to rankings admin, who would then manually update the times. On the forums, small groups of players would come together to compete for several days on a single level to see who could emerge with the best time. On the 5th of June, one such group, comprised of runners Ngamer, Yakko, and Raiden EG, would compete on the level Infiltration. Several days later, a fourth member, Perfect Light, joined the fray as the four now competed on Attack Ship. On June 14th, 2 more runners would join the group, Expert Gamer and Snapdragon, a computer science major who would later become highly regarded in coding and problem-solving communities. During these small competitions, Ngamer creates the first ever Times page, which he hosts on GeoCities. A simple page that shows all of his personal bests on each stage listed in table format. He encourages the others in the small group to do the same. On the 20th of June, the servers of pdark.com crash, taking the forums and rankings offline, leaving players stranded and with no place to compete. Dozens of emails are sent out daily to inform each other of the latest times. The pdark servers would eventually be restored, however the camaraderie and bond between this small group of men would continue to strengthen. On the 6th of July, a 7th member would join the group, Paragon X9. Ngamer suggests that each times page should include a link to the other members' pages to make navigating between them easier. After an offhand comment in a forum post by Snapdragon, Ngamer decides to call the group the Perfect Dark Elite. 2 months later, Ngamer would tell the story of how the group formed.
Eventually, I came up with my own webpage that contained all of my times, as soon everyone was making their own page. I believe it was Snap, who in a post before he left on vacation said, "Good luck on your times, everyone. Yakko, Raiden, Ngamer, you guys are more than elite." Which gave me the idea that we should all link to each other's pages to form a kind of big web ring and call ourselves the Perfect Dark Elite.
On July 10th, Snapdragon would shock the other members by releasing the Perfect Dark Elite records page. The new records page completely blew the competition out of the water. It was an automatic updating system, pulling the data from individual times pages without the need for manual work. At the press of a button, the rankings would scan each linked page and update the times immediately onto the ranks. Players would no longer need to email through their times. Instead, they controlled their own times page. Players were given instructions on how to create their own page, usually hosted on GeoCities. They simply needed to copy and paste the HTML that was given and edit their times. Once a player was added to the system, there was no need for upkeep by administrators. The newly formed Perfect Dark Elite was never intended to be in official rankings, but merely a small rivalry between new friends. In September, Snapdragon would recount.
The Elite didn't start out as a ranking system. It was just a bunch of guys from the pdark.com forums, as Ngamer said. When the forums went down, we still kept on competing through the times pages we had posted. However, it was rather annoying checking all 6, I think, of our pages for new times, so I wrote a little program that compiled all the best times together. And, well, it worked. You know the rest.
pdark.com, while still larger at the time, still relied on email updates and lacked player-controlled times pages. Staffing problems and lack of free time from admins meant that the pdark leagues went days without update. On top of this, the pdark forums were regularly offline due to server problems. It didn't stand a chance. Impressed by the newly formed ranking system and frustrated by pdark server problems, players began to flock to the new community. Over the next month, big names would speedrun Perfect Dark and join the Elite, including Sterling Neblet, the top-ranked GoldenEye player, Marshmallow, a prolific and well-known contributor to game FAQs, and Steven Schwartzes, at the time considered to be the greatest Nintendo player in the world. On August 1st, Snapdragon would again improve the ranks by adding in a point system that would tally points for each stage and rank people based on their overall score. It adopted the system that had already been in use with GoldenEye for years. Over the next 2 months, the community would flourish. By October 3rd, the rankings had welcomed its 100th member, and that member just happened to be me. On October 4th, pdark.com attempted to claw back its lost market share by introducing a new ranking system. This was fully automated, allowing players to log in and input times which would automatically be updated onto the ranks. But while the system was sophisticated, it still lacked several important features. First, the world record table only allowed space for one player, so it would only show the player who achieved a time first. The Elite rankings included the initials of every player holding a record. pdark also did not contain an overall point system, making general competition less enticing. But pdark had sheer volume of traffic on its side, leaving members of the Elite wondering if pdark would become competitive. Snapdragon stated,
It looks like they do have a better system than mine. Given the volume of traffic they get, I imagine they'll quickly surpass us in numbers. So one has to wonder, will the Elite be eclipsed?
It seemed possible, but there is one universal truth that applies to all speedrunning communities in order to survive. Good proof standards need to be established.
Their problem is that some dumb people are going to try and make a joke of the page by posting their BS times. If pdark doesn't crack down on proof, everyone will lose respect for them, and they will crash and burn just like everyone else besides the Elite.
And sure enough, with no proof requirements or an experienced team of moderators to test the validity of claims, implausible times snuck onto the ranks. By 2001, the pdark leagues had amassed over 100 members, but it had no credibility, and its forums were all but dead. By 2002, the pdark.com ranks had been taken offline. Now, with no remaining competition, the Perfect Dark Elite would become established as the official rankings for Perfect Dark speedrunning. In April of 2001, the GoldenEye Elite was born, with Snapdragon adapting the system for GoldenEye to replace its existing, manually updated ranks. In April of 2002, Derek Clark would purchase the domain theelite.net, which has been used to host the Perfect Dark and GoldenEye Elite ever since. Well, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it interesting. I'm really not sure how many people would find this stuff interesting. I have to say, though, it was really fun going back and digging up some of this old history. I have to say, when I was going back, I started to get a bit emotional, and I don't know if that was just pure nostalgia or if it was because I was longing for something that was around back then that I don't think is around nowadays. I think back then, speedrunning was a little bit more pure, and it's not really the fault of anyone these days. It's just that you have to understand, back then there was no YouTube, there was no Facebook, there's no social media, there's no Twitch, none of these platforms. So the only reason anyone was there was just because they loved the game and they loved speedrunning it, and that was all there is to it. Or it just could be because I'm getting old, I don't know, maybe I'm just getting old and I'm out of touch now. But in any case, If you enjoyed this video, you're going to love the next video that I come out with. Actually, the next few videos are going to be really, 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 really cool. So anyways, I hope you guys are doing really well. Have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video.